This is Nebanji Amos the First. This is Ramesses the Second, and this is the head of Tutmosis the Third. All these are so-called pharaohs by Egyptologists. They are very famous for one great achievement that they did. They drove out of Africa melanin recessive neonates. This is also the true meaning behind this statue of Champollion, Napoleon's right-hand man, so-called father of Egyptology, having his left foot on top of the head and statue of the great Nebanjis Ramesses II's head, proving once more that if ever a European tells you that ancient Egyptians were Europeans, they are lying. Show them this image. This is the reason why we have to understand that the Tamahu, who were called invaders or Heka Kaset, were followers of the spirit of Shatter or Set, and also that word, the Kamitic word Heka Kaset, which comes from the word created red people. They were referred to as such because their blood vessels showed through their depigmented skin. They had no melanin. Let us deal with this topic. We must understand they have more than power. What is power? Did we have power? Did we abuse our power? Do you need power? Do you think you need power if you belong to these esoteric groups? Who has power today on earth? What is power? In our languages, a number of them, in Swahili, power is nguvu. In Nyanja is mpavu. In Xhosa Zulu is amandla. Yoruba is agbara. In Igbo is ike. In Chishona or Chikaranga is simba. In Amharic is hayili. Other synonyms for power: force, authority, strength, energy, and influence. Did we have power? This image is from the tomb of Seti I of our peoples of the world, a Libyan who is Tamahu, not indigenous original Libyan, remember this. Then the Nubian, and then the Amu, or so-called Asiatic, and an Egyptian who is almost same as other images show that they are the same as the Nubian. This is how our ancestors viewed Europeans and Asians, very, very, very lowly. This caused the Egyptologists to be horrified when they realized that the Egyptians were of African origin and that they were enslaving the people who created the civilizations they admired and they loved. They couldn't stand it. Constantino Divoni in 1787 wrote the following: just think of this, that this race of black men today, our slave and the object of our scorn, is the very race to which we owe our arts, sciences, and even the use of speech. A lot of European scholars and many others have tried to debunk this and say it's a lie. It's the truth. There are many sources which deal with the subject of the race of the Tamahu, but we've already defined them, which is the name our ancient ancestors gave to Europeans, who were clearly depicted with white skin as the modern Europeans are today. We have got many other genetic factors that we have proved that the European evolved recently. Did we abuse our power? Yes, we did. And that's how we lost that power. And that's how the European rose to the top. Because we started to rot from within. Read this banner by Mr. E. Motep. It will tell you we started to rot from within due to too much power and familiarity with greatness. Anything that becomes too much burns out and fades. We took our spirituality for granted, and in the process we became arrogant and our ego grew too big. And when the people that were not supposed to learn our history, the Persians, the Greco-Romans, the Europeans, came and we gave them education in African universities, which was a great taboo. It is this knowledge that all secret societies running this world today, the occultists and the channelers who are channeling other forces from interdimensions, are ruling the earth. The basis of modern power is coercive, reward power, legitimate power, expert power, referent power. Our ancestral mode of power was based on Maati. The pharaoh's duty was to defend Maati in order to maintain and restore order. Certain pharaohs became absolute rulers because they believed that they were very close to the divinities. And by so means, they then invited calamity on us, and our pyramidal divine structure of power collapsed, and today we are suffering because of that. Let us understand this issue of power from another perspective, a very interesting and revealing perspective. What is power? According to Talcott Parsons, who argues that power is not a matter of social cohesion and domination. Oh, what is it then? Instead, he says power flows from a social system's potential to coordinate human activity and the resources to accomplish goals. Emphasis is ours here. Parsons' view is sometimes called the variable sum approach. Very, very important if you want to understand how this world is being run and how those who are running this world are running it. This approach is opposed to other views which see power as constant sum. In Parsons' view, power is not constant or fixed, but capable of increasing or decreasing. Very correct. Ours decreased and collapsed. We now want to show some ways how Europeans who were down on the last rung when our ancestors ruled this earth rose to the top. We must realize that they intend to stay at the top by any means necessary, even to the point of microchipping humanity to do that. They aren't shouting about this, but let us understand they have more than power. They have us lock, stock, and a barrel. They have got more than power. So how do they intend to use their power? And how did they maintain their power? How did they get their power? Through fraudulent activities. Our ancestors had massive power which was envied by others who used tricks and brutal force to overthrow our civilizations. The current races that have taken over our power on the earth totally believe in their fraudulent activities and their fraudulent claim to history, and this is their driver in their beliefs, and they teach their descendants these lies, and their descendants believe these lies. It's shocking, really. They continuously to go on to deliberately discredit our own ancestral images and statues, knocking the noses off for spiritual and physical maintenance of that power. As long as we do not maintain this, as long as we do not restore this and apologize to our ancestors for this, we are in dire straits. Historical, they go on to whitewash, and the millions of melanin-dominant human beings believe these lies. This is in Parsons' view, that they have to maintain their goal and appropriate our culture. That they go to lie outrightly and say Egyptians are more closely related to Europeans themselves now than modern Egyptians. Scientists claim. They are even taking that away from even the people that live in Egypt today, the white Arabs from Turkey. Here again, they say the surprising ancestry of ancient Egyptians. First ever genome study of mummies, which they take the mummies of the later dynasties, the Romans and the Persians, reveals they were more Turkish and European than African. That the African, if he hears this, he say, oh yeah, I've got a lot of African, especially Hebrew Israelites brothers, that think that this is true. But how did they actually get this power so that they could go into Kemet and dismiss our ancestry and the statues? It was due to superior technology. With our spears, bows and arrows, knob carries and stones, we could not stand on equal ground with these. They vanquished us without any problems. Let us look at how this came about. We are going to do this by reading from an expanded edition of the book Maati, Guiding Principles of Moral Living, by Ife Kilimanjaro, PhD, and TDK Kilimanjaro, who crafted this information for us, which is very, very important. You should get this book and their books and study them from Hamitic University, so that you have a foundation to understand and have explanations of the domination of black populations the world over. Is never easy if you do not understand some of the basics that we are sharing here. Looking at Africa, the most mineral material rich continent in the world, and yet the poorest and most backward, it is clear what is missing. Scientific know-how, technology, and applied modern engineering and military defense. That's how they took over. That's how they have power. A nation that knows how to use its raw materials to build, construct, manufacture, harvest, create, mass produce, and distribute has the means to provide for itself. Its people do not starve. Any nation that does not is left destitute with head in hand. That's why the Chinese are taking over Africa. That's why the Chinese are coming to take over, because we are damn stupid. We cannot use our own resources. We sell out. Our leaders are selling out, and the masses are selling out, including myself. Whites have the technology to produce everything the world needs, and yet hundreds of millions starve to death, are homeless, sick with curable diseases. Blacks have the most mineral wealth in the world, and yet the poorest people in the world. Let's continue and look at this from the book Mahati by TDK Kilimanjaro. Although we can have groups and organizations, black ballers, cow and bones, all this, let us understand one certainty here. That these people, they have got power. They can victimize, brutalize, cheat, rape, rob, invade, conquer, enslave, and destroy Africans anywhere in the world because they can. They are able. They have the means. They have had the power to do so. Power, not money. For they can print the money with their faces on it and mint the gold and silver. They holistically forced Africans and other people of color to mine. They make up the gods, the religions, and the myths, and we go and pray to those gods they made and gave us, the gods, the Allah, the Yahweh, the Jesus, and think that we are going to triumph. Or we don't even think we want to triumph, we want to go to heaven. And we are scared of hell. They make the nuclear weapons of mass destruction to kill you. They plan the systems that enslave and conquer. That's the potential that Talcott wrote about. They make the laws up, all of them, and they decide when to change them in their interest. Look at the mandatory vaccination and the constitution that protects and gives you the rights to what should be put into your body. And look at how they say the constitution gives you freedom, but the states in which you live, the companies in which you work, have the power to make them mandatory for you. So they make their laws as they go. They even decide when to end one slave system and start another. They even go to do that by superior force, military, mental, and martial, applied to rule in this power. That's why we say we need some Isfet. We need some Isfet mixed with Ma'at. Therefore, understand the overall movement of the world and where you fit in. And move forward with the best of the Africanist Renaissance movement scientific aspect, knowing that it must shed its mystical, unscientific, eclectic, non-engineering past. We need to raise the potters of this world. The symbol of creation, employ the important deity of metalwork and craftsmanship. This is what we need. We need to have something on the ground. The black populations, on the other hand, have empty spirits with no material weapons. They are the ones losing every encounter handedly, being enslaved, overworked, brutalized, lynched, burned, raped, molested, bred, and cheated until they are physically dead. Nothing is easier than to invent mystical fantasia or to take refuge in fiction of made-up tyrants dressed in prophetic garments, screaming pretentious exaltations of earlier enslaver gods, especially if it is imposed with guns, bombs, and steel. absurd, babble, superstition, blank checks drawn on enslaver made up gods, and other alien admixtures are worthless today for us. We need to continue to be inventive. We have to be smarter, tougher, and more honest with ourselves than in the past. Africans need scientific and moral sound curricula and literature of rebirth. It must be accurate, it must be independent, it must be science-based in every field of human endeavor. It must be comprehensive, transformative, and transcendent. It must be applied. There are need for theorization and theories and hypotheses and research without application and having the results and the prototypes and using them. The question of this epoch is not merely the need for a more relevant African literature, but that kind of literature is needed which answers the demands of this period, such as employment, technical and moral education, healthcare, housing, food, diet, exercise, clothing, transportation, recreation, self-defense, security, technology, alienation, heartlessness, how to build healthy relationships, ethics, land questions, childcare and development, reparations, restitution, remorse, redemption, liberty, independence, self-reliance, prosperity, integrity, honest, balance, justice, perfection, and how to live life with a purpose and meaning. Real life questions require real life answers. Therefore, that's why I invite you today to enroll into Bantu Foundations so that you have the purpose to learn, to inculcate into you that the whole earth is ours, to awaken your life to the original, pristine, original divinity that is inside you, to apply our natural advantages and unleash our potential in anything and to live a very long, healthy, happy life. We must understand they have more than power, but with applied knowledge, we will win. Our mission as Marfado is to help every melanin-dominant human being to experience effective cultural congruence and spiritual congruence by interacting with the revered ancestors and divinities. This preacher by L.M. Tumizulu propagating the real potential to recreate the power to rulership and perfect time recapturing. This is the moment. Thank you, Tatenda, Siabonga, Enkos, Asante Sana. Till we meet again. Have a good day. Edupe.